Yeah, my presentation today is based on an EU project that I am involved in, together with my colleagues in Denmark, Michael Sogo Jørgensen from Danish Technical University, and it's a Framework 7 program, and it's called PERARIS, which stands for Public Engagement with Research and Research Engagement with the Society. And the whole idea of this project is to promote engagement between scientists and the civil society. And what we hope to do in this project, we are still at the pilot phase of the project. It started in 2010. The whole idea is that we want to encourage more collaboration and more interaction between scientists and the civil society, but also the public. We would like to see the civil society actually having an influence in science policy and research policies. We would like to see more collaboration between civil society and the scientists, because today we have so many industries. Most scientists are actually collaborating with industries, but they are not collaborating with the civil society organization, obviously because of the funding structures. So the idea is to promote this interaction and engagement. But we understand this collaboration is co-creation also of knowledge, that they should actually work together and co-create our knowledge about nanotechnology, and they should also co-create realities and meaning of what nanotechnologies are all about. And our philosophy is very much inspired by philosophers of communication and theories of dialogue and communication studies that sees dialogue as an interaction between equals who are willing actually to question their traditional assumption and ways of thinking and doing things. They should question that and actually be open up to looking at things from different perspectives and learning from the other, so to speak. So we started out by doing some literature review, looking at what do we know about public engagement or dialogue between civil society and the scientists. And we actually found out that there has been a lot of engagement across Europe, but also international, like in Australia and United States, where you have governments and civil society and scientists actually wanting to engage with the public, because they're afraid that if they don't do that, they might create another GMO, controversy, and they would like to avoid that. But when you look at all these engagements that have been taking place, they have adopted the traditional asymmetrical relation, where scientists actually are the experts and they inform the public and the civil society about what nanotechnologies are all about. So it's more like the traditional education, information giving. Or you can find other activities that are involved in information gathering. They want to know what the civil societies are talking about or thinking or making of nanotechnologies. And they are also doing consultation, where already the governments have made decisions about nano research and nanotechnology policies, but then they want to consult the civil society to get a feeling of where they are and how can government, it's more like a venue for legitimizing decisions that have already been made, so the civil society and the public don't have any influence on those decisions, so to speak. But then again, we also have bounded dialogue, where we are promised that actually now the scientists are going to engage in dialogue in the public. But then again, we still see the ghost of the asymmetrical way of "you are stupid, we know, we are going to educate you what nanotechnologies are all about." Yeah, what I'm going to present is more like a pilot study. We looked at the situation in Denmark. My colleagues are looking at the situation in their different countries, but I'm going to present the data we had from the Danish pilot study, where we actually went to various university websites and looked at what are they actually doing, what kind of research are they doing in nanosciences and nanotechnologies. And we also looked at their publications and read a bit of their publication to see what they are claiming, the kind of knowledges they are claiming, or the kind of where are they now in their research and development. And then we did some semi-structured interviews with some selected nano-scientists from those groups that we identified or who are willing to be interviewed by us. And then we also looked at the various Danish civil society organizations. We looked at their website to see what are they doing within, are they interested in nanotechnologies, are they working with nanotechnology issues? And then after looking and seeing some of the Danish societies that are involved in working on nano, so we interviewed them, we contacted them and interviewed them about what are their views about nanotechnologies. And our research was done, this pilot study was done between April last year and September, so it was what I'm going to present was what we got within this period, but some things have changed after that, which I'll mention later. So we had 1 to 2 hours interviews with the nano-scientists, and when we looked at the websites and looked at what the different kind of research they were doing, what we noticed is that most of them are actually working on cancer. They're developing nano devices like liposomes or other, other nano devices or particles, mainly for cancer and Alzheimer treatment and diagnosis. And others are they're developing nano devices for gene therapy. Others are developing lab-on-chip. Others for Alzheimer and individualized cancer treatment. Others are working on plastic, self-clean, artistic plastic that could be used by companies such as Lego or milk companies like Arla Food in Denmark. But you have some other group of research that are looking at nanotoxicological issues from Copenhagen University. And then there are civil societies that we interviewed who are working on nano. It's the Danish Cancer Society, the Danish Alzheimer Society, the Danish Ecological Council, and the Danish Consumer Council. And I'm going to present some few findings. What did we find in these discussions or our review of their documents? So on the one hand, they really promise. They promise us that we are actually working on these projects, we are developing these devices, and they're actually going to help us develop more efficient, let's say, devices for cancer treatment or Alzheimer treatment and diagnosis. Many of them promise the commercial, the importance for this technology and the development for the Danish industry and commercial and competitive advantage, that we need to do this so that Denmark can be, it's going to improve our quality of life, it's going to improve the economy, and actually it's going to improve the health of the Danish society. So they're justifying it from a social benefit perspective. Or for example, the ones who are working on liposome for drug delivery, or the ones who are doing liposomes for remote loading, they also claim that once we develop this technology, there are really big potential and it's going to deliver, and Denmark will be one of the leading economies in competitive sustainable economy, develop sustainable economy. But then on the other hand, when you really talk with them, they are quite also very open and very critical and very reflective. They were telling us, and I'm talking about mainstream nanoscientists here, not critical nanoscientists. So you have to bear in mind what I'm saying when I give when I provide our findings. So on the one hand, they say, we are promising all these big things. We are saying it's going to revolutionize, the way we do things, and we're just about the corner. Within 10 years, we're just about there, and if you just give us about money, in 10 years we are going to deliver the goods. But they say we keep on promising that. The next 10 years we'll say the same thing, so it never ends. We actually have to do this because, we have to do this because we are forced by the circumstances and the situation to do this. And then another researcher was telling us that, there's a lot of, we create stories, we have to create these fantastic, compelling and persuading stories, because if we don't do this, we won't get funding. And he was saying there's a lot of bullshit out there, there's a lot of hot air, and it's really difficult for even scientists themselves to be able to differentiate between hot air and what is serious. And he was telling us that it's, for you guys now you're talking to us, how would you know it's not bullshit, the sort of things I'm trying to share with you? So it's really, really difficult to know what is real, what is serious, and what should we invest in and what should we not invest in. And this is something difficult, not just for the public, but also for funders, but also for the scientific community. And then, of course, they were also very open about risks. They were giving us examples of experiments they are doing, and they were telling us that there's a lot of things that we do not understand. For example, if we inject these nanoparticles through the blood and we want to send it to the tumor, we don't understand the cancer tumor microenvironment. We don't know actually how this nanoparticle is going to sort of react with the blood, how the immune system is going to, how it's going to handle the defense mechanism and the immune defense mechanism. So there's so many things that we do not understand, and this is actually what we would really like to do. What we are doing in our research is not just to develop these devices, but also to understand how can we actually develop technologies that produce less risks but offer more benefits to the society. And they were also giving us examples of, experiments they were doing, and they would trigger some really, really nasty adverse reactions with the lab, rats they were using, and they were concerned about these issues, and they were saying, of course, if whatever we are doing, it proves in the future that we are having more risks than benefits, then maybe we shouldn't go there. So they were quite open about this, the risk and benefit issue, and they were very much concerned about we need to balance the risk and benefits, but also to ensure that there's more benefits than risks when we adopt this technology. And then they were also concerned about their mindset. They're actually quite open, saying, I'm an engineer, my job, I'm going to devise these nano devices, I have this mindset, I've been educated at DTU, and I've been, trained to see and do things in a particular way. And we are, here at DTU, for example, we are extremely good at developing, technologies and devices. We create solutions without problems. Once we have developed this technology, it's then we start asking people, what can you use it for? And sometimes when we do that, people don't need the technology. They don't need the things that we deliver. So we actually need to change our mindset. Maybe we need to change the education system where we can actually have students here being educated at other universities or other departments like Copenhagen, where they gain another mindset, another way of thinking, so that we can actually have a more holistic, we can understand the socio and ethical complexities involved in what we are doing. So they were very much aware of, they're kind of psychic prisoners of the kind of belief system or the mindset that they have internalized through their education processes, and they were critical about that. I think there's a need to interact with the users, there's a need to interact with the public, so that we actually know what are their needs. Is it just something nice we are developing, or is this something actually they need and they can use? So they are quite open about that. And then, of course, things about dialogue. They would like to have dialogue, but of course, and I'm going to get back to that later, so I'll stop with it. But it was fascinating for us to see actually them acknowledging that they do have a mindset problem and something needs to be done about that. They have to develop technologies that benefit and are needed by the society. And then with the CSOs, what was really amazing was that at least that time we did the interview, they didn't know anything about what's happening at Danish University. They had absolutely no knowledge. They knew there's some research being done there, but they had no idea what's being done there by the researchers. And they didn't at that time also know how many products that contain nanoparticles do we have within the Danish market. For example, the Danish Consumer Council, which should be responsible for consumer issues, they had no idea at that time how many products do we have out there that has nanoparticles. They didn't even know about the claims that scientists are making, because they're using these social benefits as claims so that they can be financed by, they can get funding and stuff like that. So that was quite interesting. And they were also very concerned about resources. They were saying, okay, we actually want to know about all these nanotechnology things and what they're doing and what products are there in the market, but we don't have money, we don't have resources. So how can we actually be able to monitor and follow up these things so that we can create a public debate and a public discussion and also raise awareness? So we have no resources, and we need resources. We need a system that can actually provide us with these kind of resources. And we're also concerned about risks. They were asking, does it work? What is it all about? Does it really work? But what are the risks to the workers? What are the risks to the consumers? What are the risks to our health? They were quite worried about, what are the independent scientists saying this? What are industry scientists? Have you talked with industry scientists? What are they saying? And, can we believe what these people are saying? We need a debate where we can have independent scientists discussing with industry scientists so that we can have both sides of the story. So these concerns, they were quite worried about uncertainty issues, and they feel that nobody is telling them anything about it, and the scientists are just doing their research and they're not engaging in informing the civil societies or the public. For example, we have this quote from one of the people from the Cancer Society saying, he's kind of curious and shocked that actually these things are being allowed to be used. Like some of the cancer treatments like Doxil is nano based, and he actually didn't even know that, and he was kind of shocked that these things are being administered and used. And why is this happening without, rigorous tests and rigorous, regulations? And it was quite interesting to see people who should know all this information, they didn't have that kind of information. And then, for example, the Danish Consumer Council was saying there's so much research being done at DTU. They're doing so much nano research, but we have absolutely no idea. There's no discussion in the media. There's no discussion in the public. There's absolutely no dialogue. And what's going on? We need to be told what is happening, and we need to have a dialogue about these technologies and if we really need them and what they mean for us as consumers, but also as a society. And then he also was talking about we need, for example, an institution. The Danish government is supporting nano-centers at DTU, nano-centers at Aarhus University, and all these nano-centers are collaboration between industry and mainstream scientists. We also we need a center where we can have, civil societies and the public and the media, and we work together so that we can have we also want an institute, government financing an institute, not just for cooperating with the industry, but also cooperating with CSO and also the public. And we are going to put a lot of pressure. In fact, at that time, they were trying to put a lot of pressure to encourage the Danish government to set up a center where now we can have more public debate and public discussion. And actually, just 2 months ago, Stefan knows these things better than I do because he's involved in these things. The Danish government has set up a nano-risk center, a nano-risk center where now this center is supposed to create, collaboration and debate and engagement between the civil society and the public. And the Danish Ecological Council and the Danish Consumer Council have also established a web-based database where they have actually now providing information to the Danish public about how many products do we have there in the market that actually are containing nanoparticles. So there's some developing happening in Denmark since we did the interview, at least the last 3 months, which is really nice and encouraging, and hopefully these things are going to be promoted. So what you see, our conclusion is that, yes, there are concerns about risks, there are concerns about uncertainties, and scientists are actually open about that and willing to talk about that. And they want dialogue with the society, they want dialogue with CSO, but also with the public. But there are no money, But what is the possibility, what is in there for me? If I'm going to collaborate with CSO, does that mean I'm going to get more funding? They think in terms of funding. What are the rewards? Are there system and institutional, incentives for us to engage with the civil society and to engage with the public? But also, they're telling us they're very much demanded by their institutes, but also by the government to actually collaborate with industries and to bring money. And all these pressures actually limit their possibilities of being able to collaborate with the civil society or engage more with the public as they would, because they have to publish, they have to gain money for funding, and all this pressure means they might not be able to balance all these responsibilities and demands and expectations. But also they were talking about the need to change their mindset, because as long as they don't change their mindset, as long as they're being educated like engineers and living up in these psychic prisons, they won't be able to change things. So we need to do something, bottom up. Maybe the way we educate engineers, maybe the way we educate scientists, they need to be taught, for example, philosophy of science, ethics. They need to be taught, for example, communication. But they also maybe they might interact with the society more, and if we might develop these mechanisms, we might be able to develop better public engagement mechanisms. But if we continue demanding them to, engage with the public or engage in a dialogue, and there's no institutional support, in terms of funding, but also maybe changing our education system, so things are gonna continue the way they are. So changing our education system, the way we educate scientists, the theories we teach them, the models we teach them, maybe we need to rethink that and maybe start bottom up instead of starting when they have 40 years of research and they are completely caught up in this deterministic mindset. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.